Well, you know, sometimes things don't quite go as you planned. I went to take the wheels off my Mitsubishi Fuso and found that the nuts were extremely tight. Now, granted, these are intended to be torqued to about 380 foot-pounds. These were way beyond that. I don't know who installed these the previous time. We were well over 1,000 foot-pounds and had to use a number of tricks in order to get these nuts to come off. So if you have this style of truck with the dual nut in the rear, or a bud socket or a bud lug nut, and you're having trouble getting your wheel nuts off, and I recommend, if you haven't tried, give it a try. Take the wheel off before you need to take the wheel off. Let me show you a couple tricks on how I got the wheels off this truck. First things first, if you've never done this before, you're going to need a bud socket. This is a 41mm socket with a square that matches the inner lug nut. So the lug nuts on this truck are actually double nutted. There's an outer nut that holds the outside wheel on, that's the 41mm, and the inner nut is this square drive. So this is actually a thread. So when you take the outer wheel off, the inner wheel is still held on, not like on a Ford or a Chevy where you take that nut off and both wheels come off. The trick now is the torque on these. These are just under 400 foot-pounds. So, number one, try a long bar. If you put 100 foot-pounds on the end of a 3-foot bar, you're going to have about 300 foot-pounds. Good luck with that, taking it off. This is what you're probably most likely going to need. This is a 3-to-1 torque multiplier, so if you put 100 foot-pounds in, you get 300 out. It's about 3-to-1. That's really the trick if everything's working properly. If everything's working properly. This is what you're really going to need. If your wheels are not coming off, don't bother messing around with a massive impact gun. You're just going to strip the studs out of the brake drum and make a much bigger problem. Heat the nuts up. This is what I'm going to show you. Now, the idea behind a torque multiplier is the torque going in here is kind of reversed on this support and then multiplied as it comes out. This is about a 3-to-1 torque multiplier. So as I lift up here, if I am applying 100 foot-pounds here, I'm getting roughly 300 foot-pounds out here. Now, if you're not familiar with the Mitsubishi Fuso or this style of lug nut assembly, I know what you're probably thinking. This idiot is turning everything the wrong way. The reality is, on this style of truck, the lug nuts on this side are actually left-hand thread. So that's important to remember if you're using an impact gun trying to take these off, that you need to actually set your impact gun to tighten, and you need to turn this in the tighten direction in order to remove these. And when you're putting them back on, you need to tighten, you need to select the loosen direction in order to tighten them on. When you're done with all your ugga-duggas and it's still not coming off, oxyacetylene. Now keep in mind that if you have to resort to using a torch to get your wheel nuts off, it's going to burn the paint on your wheels, but it's going to prevent you from snapping a stud that is going to result in you having to pull the brake drums off, which is a far, far, far bigger job. But a little bit of burnt paint, not the end of the world if you ask me, when it saves something like that. So what you want to do once you've broken the nut free is take it all the way off and then put it back on. Do that all the way around for the 6 nuts, then jack the truck up, undo the nuts again, take the outer wheel off, then put the truck back down and loosen the inner nuts one nut at a time. Loosen the nut, take it all the way off, put it back on. Once you're done, jack the truck up and you can take the inner wheel off. So once you get the outer wheel off, you're going to go around and, as I said, take the inner studs off. And this is what it's going to look like. So this is the stud that's actually coming out of the brake drum. And then this is the lug nut for the inner wheel compared to the lug nut for the outer wheel. So the assembly sequence is outer nut, inner nut, and then drum stud. Now these are on the other side of the truck, and as you can see there's an R in there because these are right hand thread nuts. The other side will have an L stamped in there. Now I would also recommend once you have these removed, take them to your wire wheel and give them a nice clean. Threads can get a little rusty, which doesn't help things when they're going together or coming apart. So just a quick wire wheel. Same with these. I did just with a whirlybird. You could just use a wire brush. It just takes a little bit more time, but cleaning those threads up is really going to make things go back together more easily and come apart more easily the next time. So that's the method that I've used. I hope that helps. I hope you never need to use a torch, but definitely look at, if you haven't taken a wheel off one of these trucks yet, take one off so that you're not taking it off on the side of the highway for the first time. Take it off so you know how to do it. Get a long bar, get a torque multiplier, make sure you have the right size socket. It's not the hardest thing to do once you've done it and you have the right tools. So next I'm going to be digging into the brakes on this truck, which requires some more special tools, but these are ones that if you're handy you can make yourself, and it's going to save you a lot of money on doing a brake inspection or doing a brake job. Stick around. Thanks for watching. See you next time.